really?
Since 6 o'clock.
No,
Already
no,
ashes.
we didn't get to vote on the park. That was just part of.
You leaving us, Fran?
But,
Oh, I'm putting a
um,
jacket
Oh,
on.
she's cold.
But yeah,
I'm joining you.
it is, and it's hard because
Yeah.
I'm.
Well, I always bring something extra because I don't know.
Roll call, please.
But yes, please email me.
President Weatherston.
Here.
Trustee McManus.
Here.
Trustee Balch.
Here,
Trustee Martin.
here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Here.
Trustee
Danny's
Pierce.
coming out.
Here.
Trustee Lambert.
Here.
Public comment, please, provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions to the committee of the whole. Committee of the whole cannot respond as it may conflict with open meeting requirements. Anybody? Going once, going twice. Committee updates, planning commission, Ms. Pierce.
I don't, well, I have something and I don't have something. So out on Zoning Hub, we have a couple of things that are coming down the pike. One is there's going to be a request for a new zone for mixed use coming forward. There's Payne and Dolan with the renewal on their agreement. There's fireworks at the Pick and Save, and Raymond Big Rig Repair is looking for approval for truck trailer repair in a spectacular fashion.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're laughing because there's an
It's all
ordinance.
spectacular.
Anyway,
There's a requirement that
It has
It's a
anything.
legal requirement that it be spectacular.
Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, Holly.
Todd has something to say.
You have to approve the minutes from the last meeting yet.
Oh, did I skip over that?
Yeah,
Again?
you did.
Oh, yeah.
Approval of the minutes from the committee of the whole, April 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from April 9,
Thanks for being
2024.
so Nancy. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are
Aye.
approved. Thank you, everybody.
Parks
Holly?
and Rec. Yeah. We had a good meeting today. We discussed the updates to Crawford Park, some lighting options. We're still addressing the playground splash pad for the next phase for the park. We chatted about the ongoing issues with the Nicholson Wildlife Refuge and some options that we have moving forward there with the flooding, but not only just basic park upkeep. And I feel like I'm missing something, Ryan. I have the agenda. Hold on. Sorry. Actually, that's pretty much it. Crawford Park and yeah.
Thank you, Holly. Utility District, Mr. Wishaw?
I've got nothing new to report, but I'm sure Tony does regarding last week's rainfall.
He's up there ready to talk about water and poop and stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a rough week.
Oh,
Here's for the storms that were from April 14th through April 18th. Essentially, at that time frame, we had about 4 to 4.5 inches of rainfall over those events. We utilized as many of our assets as we could. Essentially, with the storms that occurred on the 14th and 15th, we essentially filled the Hoods Creek Attenuation Basin again. 4.7 million gallons of wet weather storage, basically again in about 44.5 hours. So about the same rate,
wow.
unfortunately, but it was definitely put to use. Now, the problem with using that facility on the 14th and 15th and a little bit on the 16th, that means we had essentially no time to discharge the basin because the flows that were in Highway K and also at River Bend were still elevated as of the 19th, or I'm sorry, the 18th on Friday, when we got about 1.25 inches of rain over the area. Essentially, that rainstorm on that Friday evening, we had various issues with high-level alarms and also with peak hour and peak day problems for flow capacities down to Racine. Essentially, overall, we did have an SSO out of Riverbend. We discharged out of the wet well for approximately 12 hours on Saturday morning from about 1 a.m. until about 1 p.m.
They don't know what an SSO is.
Sanitary sewer overflow. Yeah. One of those dirty words that we don't
We
like
don't
using.
like to say that.
That's why we use the acronym. But essentially, we discharged about 432,000 gallons out of the River Bend lift station during that SSO. Otherwise, as far as peak hour and peak day, we had 25 violations, 10 of them being peak hour and 15 of them being peak day, ranging from the minimum of 80% and the maximum of 130.7%. So we
Oh.
will get another nastygram from Racine, and we will see how the Racine Wastewater Commission handles those going forward.
And how are we doing at pumping the tanks down now?
We just started. We should have it empty probably by Thursday afternoon.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Tony, are we teetering on some kind of a moratorium because of the?
Don't say that word.
By the rules
Another bad
in the
word.
agreement, yes, we are.
Thank you.
Gotta go somewhere.
Visit Racine County, Fran.
Oh, something good.
We have a meeting on Thursday, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay.
I have noticed, though, that out on the desk, there's a flyer from the Historical Society about events that they're having, so I will be sure to bring that to the attention of Visit Racine County, because I'm not sure they're connected.
Thank you. Other committees is me. I don't have anything to discuss. 6A, new business.
What about the meeting that you and I were at, the housing meeting?
Oh, we'd like to
Yeah.
talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
They made me a chair of one of those committees. I'm not sure I even know what I'm doing on one of those committees, so.
well, I'm not chair of anything because I sit in the back row, so I just listen. You were the one sitting up front.
Yeah.
So
Been a mistake.
was it last Saturday? No, last week sometime.
ago. Yeah.
The RCEDC put together a meeting out at Wingspread and invited people, and it was on housing. And it was presented by RCEDC, and she had some really good factors and information, which I think would be good if we could get that PowerPoint so we could share the data, because there was some good data. I mean, we have a decreasing population effectively. They had 3 speakers who kind of like a symposium factor, and they were very good. One was a gentleman from Washington County, one was from the city of Milwaukee, and one was from Henrico County, Henrico County, Virginia, which is just north of Richmond. That area is heavily data centered, and the other 2 had data centers. So what they were talking about in part was where are the pinch points in the housing continuum? They had some good points, but they kind of left out the world of real estate market in there. That was the piece I didn't see happening. But I thought some of the suggestions, especially the gentleman from Washington County brought forward, he had some really good points for us that we should all hear and consider as we talk about housing.
Thank you. Very, very well done. Thank you.
Well, and I'm not chairing a committee. You have to do it.
I'm not sure what they want me to do, to be honest with you. Okay,
Mr. President,
yes, sir.
you also skipped over public comment. Can you give people an
No,
opportunity?
he did it.
No,
Yeah, he
he
did.
Oh,
No,
you
he
didn't?
Yeah,
He
go
did.
I
ahead.
didn't hear him say.
You did?
Never mind.
New business, discussion on committee of the whole structure. I think
That was me.
that was you?
That was me.
Please enlighten us.
I mean, I like the concept of our committee as the whole, is the fact that there are 7 trustees sitting here and we get to actually hear what's going on. But one of the things that seems to constrain us is, one, the Roberts Rules of Orders, that we are not able to have very healthy discussions amongst ourselves, and we're prohibited by law from getting together more than 2 of us at a time, basically, to talk other things. So I don't know if there's a way to, and I'm kind of looking at Mr. Pruitt over there, to figure out, is there a way we can suspend Robert's Rules of Orders, have a basic agenda, and have a more free-flowing conversations, or not? Because otherwise, we have to go back into all of our strong committee structure, which doesn't allow us to also be in front of the public.
So Nancy,
Yep.
let me tell you that I've had a couple other members of this board asked to go back to the committee structure. And I thought we'd wrap that into this conversation. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I think they both have merit and they both have bad points. So I get what you're saying. And do we want to go back to the old committee structures, or do we want to stay with committee of the whole, or some modification of the 2? I know Mr. Wishaw had some thoughts. Did you want to?
Well, yeah, as I stated a while back, I used to be the chairman of the finance committee, and for all the years I've been on the board, we reviewed a number of things in finance that we currently totally skip over. There's absolutely no oversight over any of the things that are important, policy, procedures, you know, you name it. And every year I'm interviewed by the audit team in January, and I'm asked to basically sign off on a lot of things that I can't really sign off on because I'm no longer involved in the details. So I don't feel comfortable with that, and I've asked to reinstate the finance committee for that reason.
So, and Fran, if you don't mind, you
Yeah.
asked about L&L coming back? What-
I did, because when we had L&L, there was more trustee involvement early in the stages as opposed to staff spending a lot of time drafting something that when it gets to the board, really maybe isn't what the board wants. So to me, it was much more helpful to have L&L. There were 3 of us on it, I think, and we worked with Elaine typically if we were revising ordinances or whatever. So I would like L&L to come back.
Mike, did you have any comment?
I don't really have any at this moment. I can see the benefit in having both.
Both.
Well, not both. I could see the benefits of having the committee of the whole here where things get moving. Whereas if it was a smaller one, I could see where something could get bogged down or kind of lost in translation.
All right.
So what would happen if?
Nancy, would you like to comment on that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So what would happen if we reconstituted L&L and finance, and then they can have their meetings, but they can come into the committee of the whole to tell us what they're doing?
Report to the committee of the whole.
Right, because then it still gives the advantage, like for Holly to talk about parks and the other things, because those seem to be the 2 committee areas, finance and L&L, that can benefit from some,
So you're recommending a hybrid model of
a hybrid model, so that we reconstitute those 2 committees, but also have them report as part of where we're talking about committee updates.
Mr. Pruitt, is that a viable option? Is it either or can we do a hybrid?
You can alter your ordinances to create whatever animal you'd like.
Oh, don't say that.
Before I give up the mic, though, I wanted to answer your question about suspension of the rules. You do have the authority under your code to suspend the
Yeah.
rules. So you could meet as the committee of the whole and within a motion that passes to set aside the Roberts rules and just discuss.
Have at it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We pretty much do that anyways.
I
Well, so
I
we'd be
thought that,
more open.
sorry, I thought that Elaine had said that we were constrained by the open meeting law, not by Robert's rules, and that is because it wasn't specifically itemized. We couldn't have
I think
a
that's Robert's
substantive
rules.
discussion of it.
Well, you'd have to have the items that you're going to discuss would have to be on the agenda. But in
that's
terms of like following Robert's rules in terms of motions and seconds and that kind of thing, you could have a more free-flowing discussion. But you can't just have a meeting where you're going to talk about whatever happens to come into
But you
the.
wouldn't do that
It
at your
could be just a
meetings anyway.
generic
Yeah.
topic, though.
You have to give the public notice of what you're going to be talking about so that they can attend if they're interested.
Right. I mean, that was the problem, I think, that where we were constrained when we would have had more free-flowing discussions.
Right, and that's
We're still
that's
constrained by
state
that.
law. That's not Robert's.
That's what I
You
mean.
need
I
to
think
give,
we're,
you
I
know,
think we're still constrained to
notice.
some extent.
But in terms of your committee structure, we've been involved in a lot of these restructurings where the municipalities decide we're not using this one. Let's try to combine these 2 because they
Mhm.
seem to overlap a lot. I mean, there's nothing to keep you from doing that kind of thing. But it has to be an ordinance then, and we'd have to go through that process.
Holly, did you have a comment?
We can
Yeah.
try that.
I hear you breathing heavy, so I figured you wanted to say something.
Well, no, I just, again, I know I bring this up a lot, but as I have a full-time job, very little kids, it's tough for me to make, then that's why we have the parks meeting right before this meeting. I appreciate the committee of the whole because I get to get more into, but I would like, I like kind of like the hybrid idea that if trustees are able to be in a more intimate setting for the actual meeting and then come back to the committee of the whole with more of a report, and then we can still openly talk about things. So if I have something for a topic idea, then we could still talk about it. I don't have to go to that meeting to have that item talked about. And I think it would still have to be on the agenda, right? But because I couldn't make the L&L meeting or the finance meeting, doesn't mean I couldn't talk about it at the committee of the whole meeting as long as it's on the agenda.
Right, as long as it's under the committee description.
And I like that
I
idea.
was trying to go down the table, so.
Yeah, I like that idea because I think there are important things that need to be discussed in, in a little bit more of an intimate setting. But then I also know that I can't make all of those meetings just
Right.
because of my
I
schedule.
don't think you'd be expected.
Prescott, did you
No.
have a comment?
I like the hybrid
You
model.
like the hybrid idea?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Mr. Wishaw,
Hybrid.
Hybrid.
Mike?
Sure.
So do we need
on,
a
take a
motion to
decision.
create a
No.
hybrid?
Well,
He doesn't need to.
I know, it's, well, the decision's
don't
kind of
want a
already been kind of
Motion to
made.
Say sure.
Yeah.
So somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we reconstitute the Finance Committee, the Legislative and Licensing Committee to become parts of the committee updates, and we still continue with the committee as a whole under the current structure.
All right, so that was-
Second,
Who was that, Fran?
yeah.
All right, so discussion,
That is something.
Todd, did you have something?
Well, one, that's fine. You have the motion and the second on the floor. Before you can reinstitute finance or legislative and licensing, whoever President Weatherstein appoints to those committees and then requests that that individual be, one of those trustees be a chair, they're going to have to work with staff on scheduling.
Right.
There's a scheduling
We did
issue,
that
but
before.
then
Always
there's,
did.
We always do.
right, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to finish, but then the other part is when it comes to finance, typically you do not approve elements from finance the same night you have a meeting. Now, they would still go to committee of the whole, I guess, because then, but you'd want to have some break in case other trustees are interested in what's going on with, the finance department or finance committee. So it would be like the week before your committee of the whole would be your finance meeting. Legislative and licensing, you would have to work with the village clerk because she's going to be dealing with, making sure that schedule lines up with alcohol licenses, bartender licenses, permits, etc. So I'm just making you aware. And then also there's the element of rewriting the code, and I'll let Attorney Pruitt discuss how that works. And so there'll be, while we can go through the motions of this today, it's not like it would be instituted instantly.
Could you just restate what the motion was exactly
My,
to?
my motion was to reconstitute the Finance Committee and the Legislative and Licensing Committee to add those two to the committee updates, which is always section 5 of the committee
as
is
a whole.
committee of a whole, and continue with the committee of whole as currently constituted.
And we already have those two committees were just held in abeyance or
I think
something.
we
I mean,
need a
they were
resolution to
described
go
in-
back that way, is that correct?
Right.
Right. I'm just looking at our agenda. I want to make sure that we have some, are we within our agenda here?
Yeah,
We're
this
barely-
is,
We're in the edge.
this is A, 6A.
We are.
Discussion on committee of the whole structure.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I do think you're going to need some rewriting of your code. So maybe it's an authorization to staff to bring back the necessary rewrite to accomplish this motion.
Well, I think if they were held in abeyance, we wouldn't need to,
Right.
would we?
That's what I was thinking.
Well,
don't
were they
think they were.
previously reporting to the committee of the whole, though? I mean,
No, they
I-
reported to the full board.
Right.
Yeah.
I see what your point is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we need to make sure that this all kind of works.
Really report to the
Then it
board.
meshes.
Did they
Should be
report
pretty
to
easy,
the
though.
They
It
reported to the
should,
board
yeah.
before.
So now they would report to the committee.
So, Tim, if a vote tonight would send you guys off, we would need a resolution to actually do it at our next board meeting, is that correct? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
I'm looking forward to
Todd.
B.
We did that.
Don't hit me with the microphone now.
Well, now you have to make appointments to the finance and the legislative and license.
Yeah, that's next. I believe.
Can be.
Appointments to board members, the standing committees.
Which we did already, didn't we?
No,
No,
these are,
we just
standing
brought them
committees.
back.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
This was my problem with the whole setup. I wanted to do this all at once, but,
yeah.
so on this one, these are appointments and there is not a vote on them, I'm sorry to say. Finance Committee, Mr. Wishaw, Mr. Prescott, and Nancy Pierce.
Oh, you, wow, you're giving
Is
me
that
a
a yelp?
checkbook. I'm impressed.
Legislative and licensing,
Better than
Holly,
that.
Mike, and Fran.
Okay, but Holly has
But
trouble
they-
with,
It's a problem for them to meet
It's an
during the
appointment.
day.
There's no discussion. Personnel Committee, myself, Holly, and Lee.
But you're not making those standing committees. That's part of what you just discussed was that you were looking at creating the standing committees
We
for
don't have 'em yet.
personnel or
We don't have
for finance and L&L.
Right.
So you don't need to do personnel.
Oh,
but
I'm
what you-
sorry, yeah.
What
We
you
don't
do
need
need
those,
to
do
do
we?
though is
'Cause they
acknowledge
state-
who is
Thank
going,
you for reminding me.
you do need to acknowledge who is the chair of each of those.
So on our finance, Lee would be the chair, Prescott would be the vice chair, and Nancy would be member at large. On legislative and licensing, it's Holly as the chair, Mike as the vice chair, and Fran as the member at large.
even though Fran has been the chair in the past.
Thank you for
Maybe we
correcting
should
me.
ask Holly.
Well, L and L only meets when, wait, legislative and licensing? Hold on. Can I talk, can we discuss this? Because there's gonna be stuff that I'm gonna have to recuse myself on because of my current job.
We
Yeah,
understand.
then I'd step in.
Okay. All right,
We understand that.
all right.
Thank you, everybody. Discussion on Adams Road project landscaping, 6C. I'm not sure how this got on there.
Oh, it
Is
got
that you,
on.
Fran?
Yeah, I do. It got on here, but in the interim, I've talked with Pete. It came about because Adams, it's the Saputo, it's the backside, so to speak, of Saputo. And there really isn't any landscaping at all. So I happened to be on that road and I was talking to the people who faced directly at it. They had said that their understanding when it was proposed was that there would be a taller berm and that there would be trees and some kind of screening on it. And right now, there's nothing. I will say it's a pretty bleak view from their home. It's a nice home
This is on the south side of,
on Adams Road.
okay, I'm sorry. I
On the-
lost from
not on 4 Mile, but on
All right.
Adams,
Okay,
on
thank you.
the backside
Yes,
of
the
it.
south side.
South side.
So I contacted Pete to ask, because I didn't know what conditions were placed on it at the time that it was built. I think Pete said that there's a retention pond. You can't see it from the home across the street. All you see is the bare wall of the building. So I don't know. I think Pete indicated that there weren't any requirements that there be landscape or anything on it. I don't know if there's anything at all that we can do. It would improve it a lot. What they told me is that their assessment has gone down every year, and they believe that to be accurate because of, and it's a nice home otherwise, a nice home with a nice yard, because their view is of a big bare wall. So Pete, over to you. Is there anything we can
Thank
do at
you.
all?
In the particular case, it is the Kenco building, not Saputo.
Okay.
So
Okay.
to give you a little orientation, there's the DeBack Farms, the business park that's north of Northwestern, and Saputo is in the Zilber Caledonia Corporate Park south of Northwestern. When DeBack was formed, there were outlots identified for the stormwater management before any of the buildings went up, except for Norco was probably part of the original development. And so when they subdivided the industrial park, they created the outlots. And the outlots one of the outlots ran along the southern portion of Adams Road. As the business park developed, one of the distribution facilities, there was General Mills on the far east, and then Kevco. Thank you, Kelvo. Kelco. It's a distribution facility for grocery products. when that particular lots were created, they had Carroll Court, which is a private road. There's no requirements for landscaping along a private road. So when that development came through, they did put some landscaping down, a small berm landscaping, I haven't been out there recently. We could go back there and take a look. They put evergreen trees and some other shrubs, but when you have a 45-foot tall building, the 3-foot evergreen is really not going to do a lot in the first, decade or so of it being in place. And so the situation is we had a building that got put up, met all the ordinances. They went above and beyond with their landscaping on the south side of their building as it relates to the private road. And so that's how that got approved back in the day that they applied for site plan approval. Now, the outlot, Trustee Martin was talking about landscaping and outlot. That is not something that staff encourages. It's stormwater infrastructure. As part of the development, to put trees and shrubs and stuff I believe it impedes with the development, the site of how those are supposed to function. I would defer any specifics to Mr. Bunkelman regarding why landscaping would not be encouraged to go in an outlot. We don't have any authority to impose additional screening on the distribution facility. And so best we could do is put a request out, communicate with them, asking if they would be willing to put additional plantings. We don't have necessarily a minimum, our minimum requirement is like an 1.5-inch caliper tree, deciduous tree, to be planted. So I don't think that even putting more trees there are going to necessarily solve the problem instantly. So that is an issue that we have with this particular site to modify it. Right now I'm researching, it seems to be that the green blinking lights are the issue that you can see from across the street. And so I'm taking a look at our exterior lighting code. If there's anything, it's not going to be a 1/2-foot candle at the lot line. I mean, it's 500 feet from the road, so there's no way those lights, as bright as they are, they're not going to trigger our photometric meter to go off the half-foot candle at the lot line. Taking a look at some of the code and talking about glare and nuisance, and see if we can enforce the exterior lighting code, and say you need to do additional screening of, even if it's like a 3-foot wood fence on the property of the distribution facility. But that would be the process we may be able to proceed with. And so I didn't get back to you sooner about it, but that's what I found at this point. But if you wanted you wanted to pursue the whole outlot landscaping, that's not something I believe we can enforce, as that's not something that we would want in our outlots.
Well, I would say whatever we can do, we should do, because once again, we imposed this on our residents. They had this beautiful home there, and I get that the outlet might look like buffering, but it's not when you're in your home that's, has a regular front yard, and then suddenly there's a massive building, and that's what your view is. So anything that we can do in terms of landscaping, trees, anything within our authority, or even talking to them and asking them to be good neighbors, I think would be helpful. And the lighting too, I appreciate it, Pete.
And we have the consistent issue out there too of the noise bounce, because this is almost literally right behind me. So since these buildings have gone up, you cannot sit on the patio in the back of the house especially during the week, because of the noise bounce. It's understandable, you've increased the hardscape. So when we're looking at landscaping and stuff, one of the things we do not currently take into consideration is hardscape versus noise bounce, which I don't know if we can fix it here, but at least going forward, keep that in the back of our minds when we're looking at projects.
Well, this probably, you could stop me, Tim, but this sort of reflects on what Bob Whitkey was talking about, which is the complaints about the noise at Saputo. And I understand they're not old people, I don't think. And if you want to assign me to it, you can. But what they're talking about is vibration, a very heavy vibration that rattles their windows. And so it doesn't exceed the noise ordinance. But I know. Hey, I know. I'm going over it. I know. Yeah, I know. I'm still raising it.
All right,
It's all connected.
I don't know, do we need a motion on anything there, Fran, are you satisfied?
I don't know. Pete what if we just agree that Pete and I will keep working on it, or Pete will keep
Okay,
working on
that's
it?
fine.
Really?
Table it.
That's too simple, Fran.
Staff here was talking on the side about the Google Maps and looking at the view. So if you could just reiterate what you said.
You get to
sorry.
keep working on it.
I was
We
just,
were working on it, yes.
Yeah.
We were looking at
Yeah.
other angles.
okay,
You work with Fran on that, please.
yeah, thank you.
Will do.
Pete.
All right. Water tower, I'm not sure.
I think that was me.
Go ahead.
Again, Adams Road, right behind me. It was like, it's been laying fallow, so to speak, with nothing happening on it for forever. It's ugly as a monkey could possibly be in its worst day. The tower itself. It's,
Monkey's worst day.
yeah, and it's obviously you're not going to put landscaping to cover up what a water tower looks like. But anyway, what's the status on getting that water tower finished and operational? Because I believe when I talked to the fire chief, boy, he thinks he was going to get away with nobody looking at him tonight. Sometime back, that within that Wisp Park area is a business that actually probably has one of our highest risks for fire should something ever go wrong there. It's not, but still. But at the same time, if I was understanding, and I think it was Tony who told me way back when, that the purpose of the water tower was for water pressure in the area, specifically if we ever had a fire loss and had a drawdown on one side, we needed this, and that sounds wonderful, and I'm all behind it, but the tower's laying on its side.
Okay, so us monkeys are actually doing something. So
I
essentially,
did not call you a
the
monkey.
tower is being constructed like by Landmark Structures, who is out of Texas.
I
and
noticed
when-
the Texas flag.
And when you do a water tower, there are a lot of things that are very temperature dependent. Right now, they are as far as they can go without anything that is temperature dependent. Now, the contractor has been back for about 3.5 weeks. And whether we saw them or not, they ended up forming up and pouring the floor of the pedestal inside. And they also constructed the interior room, the insulated room, for all of the controls and the pipes that go up to the top in the future. And then they are currently working on interior electronics. So needless to say, the big bowl, steel bowl that you see around it that they have to walk under, you're not going to see a whole lot of work until that gets coated. The coating of that, again, highly temperature dependent, is scheduled to start on May 4th.
Awesome.
So
May
once
the
that
4th
gets
be with 'em.
coated, then what'll happen is that metal structure will actually be raised to the top, and then they will continue and finish the welding of the top of the steel tank. They'll also complete the connection between the concrete pedestal and the steel tank. And then at that time, they will finish doing their coating, and then we will end up going forward with painting.
No mural?
No mural. It will say Village of Caledonia on it, or actually, it will say Caledonia on the side, 2 sides.
Thank you, Tony. for
You're
that.
welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it. Suggested items for future meeting agendas. No action.
Yes, I do have one. I had a conversation with a citizen on 5 Mile and 31, so I'm sure you can guess who that was. It was a very productive conversation. Not 5 Mile and 31, 5 Mile and 38. I would like to know more about what it takes to change traffic speed limits, and what does a traffic engineer entail? Is that something that we could train? Is that something we could hire for? Is that something that we could maybe pay a contract for on a yearly basis? So that every time we want to look at a speed limit or an intersection, we're not saying, well, there's a traffic study or there's this. I would like to know more about the process of
Changing
how we
speed limits?
determine about what a traffic engineer does and how that works for our village.
You mean looking at speed limits, sort of
Wouldn't that be part of an
generically?
overall
I mean, I know we had
transportation
those
plan?
No.
legacy
I'm
intersections.
specifically talking about a traffic engineer, because we talk about traffic engineers a lot, and it seems like we would outsource that. Is that the only option? Is that something that, and I know we can't talk about it too much, but I want to know more about traffic engineers, what they do for our village, what it costs us to have one, or is it possible to hire a part-time one, or send Ryan to more training or school?
Poor Ryan.
No, I know. But I would like to know more about what that means for the village, so that we don't just say, well, we have to have a traffic study and we're not gonna do it because we don't want to spend the money.
You got all that, Ryan? Wearing his pencil out, writing it all down. Right. Anything else for future committee?
I do, and
Fran?
because this whole thing about Gorney Park and the shooting and so on made me think about this. You know, we have described areas within which shooting is allowed and is not allowed, and we change that periodically. We changed it for, what's the name of the place where you live, Tom? Your subdivision.
I don't live in a subdivision. I live on Dunkelo Road.
You're talking about
Road.
Prairie Pathways?
Prairie Pathways, yeah.
Oh, behind me.
Right, okay. Well, we changed it because there was a farm that was within this shooting area, and then as Prairie Pathways developed, the same issue came about, you know, there were bullets going into the homes there. And so the way that we dealt with it was by changing the perimeter of the acceptable shooting area. What I'm thinking is that I think we ought to look at changing it around a park so that you would not be allowed to, I'm not talking about the shooting range at all. I'm talking about individuals. Because right now, you're only prohibited from shooting if you're 500 feet from a structure. There's nothing that stops anybody from being at Bobby Grove's farm and shooting across the park or wherever. Not that he's going to do that, but what I am saying is that I do think that we ought to have a protective envelope, so to speak, around a park where shooting is not allowed. I also understand that rifles can travel 2 miles and we can't do it at that range, but at least I think we ought to have some look at the boundaries of our shooting area, allowed shooting area.
I have one item as well. And
Yes.
there have been a number of people on and off the board that have made comments about the website. Could we put that on an agenda to talk through some of that and maybe have an action plan for doing something about it?
And I think it actually
Yeah.
was on a previous, but yeah.
I'll add to that because it doesn't work with Apple products at all.
Because what?
It doesn't work with Apple. That's a big gap.
Oh, yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put those on the next agenda.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for your input. Continuing business, historical TID analysis.
Oh, I hate to make a motion, but could we please lay this over?
A and B.
A and B. Okay.
Oh.
I
yeah.
make a motion to lay over A and B.
Seven A and
Second.
B.
7A
Second
and
A and
B,
B.
yes.
All right.
Any discussion on that?
Who seconded it?
Fran and Holly at the same
Fran and
time. So pick one.
We raced.
Holly, really.
The one with the babies.
Oh, the biggest mouth, Holly.
Hey.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Laid over. Closed session. I don't know why,
Well, it's not.
It's not
the first
closed
part's
yet.
not closed.
no, I'm getting there. Todd, can you explain to me why A and B is on there? What was the,
Mr. President, so you'll be starting out in open session.
we're gonna start
and-
open?
Yep, and we have, we have attorney Hannah Kohlberg here from the Von Briesen firm to help us on some of these issues. But our hope, I think, is that a lot of this discussion could be had in open session.
Okay,
And if it looks like the discussion is going toward conversations about employees, for example, those are things we might want to take up in closed. So that's why the closed session was put on the agenda in case we need to transition over into closed session.
very good. Thank you for explaining that. So 8A, trustee code of conduct ordinance and social media policy. Who's taking the lead?
Not me.
I'll take the lead. Especially now that the election's over, I think that this needs to be discussed. I think that I understand First Amendment rights and I appreciate them. I dedicate my life to that every day, to the upholding of our laws, and appreciation for them, but I do think that as trustees, we have a responsibility that what gets put on social media, whether it's a business page or your trustee page or a personal page, you have to answer for, and the facts have to be forward thinking, and the names of other trustees should not be slandered. Now, the reason I'm saying that is I'm not necessarily saying that we can't disagree with one another, because that wouldn't make sense and that wouldn't make us 7 individuals up here. But I am frustrated and fed up with the way that we treat each other, the way that our words hurt one another and our families. And I think that as trustees on social media and out in the public, we should be bound to a higher standard. I'm not saying don't share your opinion, but I'm saying that we need to be bound to how we share our opinion. I got brought up in numerous posts during the election, and I don't know why, because I come to this job and I approach this job with the utmost integrity, doing the best I can every single time I come before you. And I may not agree with everyone in this audience, and I may not agree with every one of these trustees, but I do expect that my children shouldn't have to read posts, or my family shouldn't be calling me because my name is being slandered and trustee names are being attached to those slanders. We are responsible for our names and our social media accounts. And therefore, I think, and I'm not, if you want me to get into names, I will, and I don't want to do that. We'll go into closed session for that. But I think that we should all be bound by the same respect for one another. And that respect should be here in this boardroom too. I don't think it should just be on social media. But we all dedicate our lives to this, some of you more than others, and I think we need to respect one another for that. And I think we should all be bound to a code of conduct.
Well, we can't go into closed session on personnel because we're not personnel.
I think the closed session is not appropriate no matter what we do, unless we're talking about an employee, which
We're
I
not
don't think we are.
Well, there are two
There's
bases
2 points
for,
to this.
there are two bases for the closed session. One is sub C, which deals with employment and
Right.
personnel. But the other was reputational interests, which is sub F. So that is a proper topic of closed session.
But it's not
All right.
noticed that way.
No, it's not.
It's not properly noticed for that then. No, it's not. But
It
that,
talks about the trustees' code of conduct, which doesn't exist at this point,
Well, that's why,
and social media, so I don't know how we can have a closed session about something that
Hold on
doesn't
a second.
exist.
We're talking about going into closed session. We're still.
no, we're not.
item
Well,
A.
let's
no, we're
stick
still
with-
on, we're still on
Let's
item
stay
A.
in open, all right.
Yeah, no, we're still on item A.
Okay, because I do have something to say about this, and that is that the essence of free speech is that it protects unpopular free speech. If all speech were popular, we wouldn't need the First Amendment. If everybody likes to hear what you're saying, you don't need the First Amendment. That's why the ACLU defends terrible people that you would totally disagree with, because it's the protection of free speech. And so I really don't like the idea that we're constraining anybody's ability to use free speech. And there is, Holly, I don't know whether you know this or not, but there is a Supreme Court case from 2024 called Limke v. Freed, 601 U.S., that dealt with exactly this, social media by public officials. And what it said is there's a true, and I'm surprised, honestly, that our attorneys haven't told us about this, because it would have been helpful had we known it. But I know it, and I didn't find it because I'm a lawyer. I found it because it was easy to find looking up. And I truly do regret, because it might have cut short this whole discussion if we had known about it. But I can tell you that I found something to simplify it from the National League of Cities, which is attorneys. And it says, can you explain the new standard the court set for government officials' social media accounts under the First Amendment? And it says, meaning where we can constrain it, to find state action on the personal social media page of a government official, elected or employed, the individual must, 1, possess actual authority to speak on the government's behalf on that particular issue, which none of the trustees do. Todd does, Tom might, I think Tom probably does. I don't, the rest of the trustees don't. So we fail that test. And the second one is purport to exercise that authority. So we would have to have the ability to make those statements on behalf of the village, which we don't. And if as long as we don't, that's protected free speech, and that's what that case says. And the second suggestion that National League of Cities he's had, you suggest elected officials maintain 2 social media pages, one for personal use and one for official city use. Yes, having separate accounts is the best way to avoid mixing. I don't have an official page. I did have a campaign page, and they also suggest you have a campaign page, and I rarely use that. And if I ever post with it, it's accidental because I've been looking at it and I posted something. So I believe that everything that I say and that everything that any other trustee says on their personal page is protected free speech, and I think it's wrong for us to try to constrain that. And I don't think we should be insulting one another. Holly, what you might be talking about is what other people say in response to what a trustee says, not.
Nope.
I think so.
No, I'm not. And I knew you would get offended by it and think that I'm
Yeah.
attacking free speech. I'm not. I'm
Well,
talking
that is
about
free
being a decent person and not slandering your trustees with false information and going again and putting things out there that I don't even say and claiming that they're correct. So, no, I'm not talking about free speech. I'm talking about you having respect for the fellow people that sit on this board. I'm talking about holding ourselves accountable for what we say and what we put on social media when I come to this position every single day.
All of
And
us.
I expect, and I do. And so that's why I'm saying we each hold ourselves accountable.
All of us get attacked
And
on
which
social
would-
media. All of us.
I'm not talking about what Jim and John and Joe and Jan say out in the audience. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that I sit and I trust every single one of you to not go behind my back and post stuff on social media slandering me so that my family can read it and call me. And then attach yourself to posts where snippets of this recording, which is fine because I'm being recorded now, and hear me. If you're going to quote me on social media, use the whole entire quote. Don't take pieces and don't put my name on stuff that I didn't say. And I am tired of it.
I'd say this is very clearly about you, because one of the things there is with the Ethics Commission is standards of conduct. It does not cover any of this at all, which is, again, another reason why I'm saying this isn't properly being brought forward, because there is no code of conduct for trustees, either in our particular ordinances or when you look at the standards that this is being asked to go under, 19.851, it fails on that. And then you look at what the Ethics Commission has to say.
And I am asking, what I'm asking for is I talked to Elaine at length about this, and she said there is nothing prohibiting us from coming up with a way to treat each other appropriately. That is all I'm asking for. And I want to include here too, because these last 3 or 4 months have been the most trying and stressful time in my career in the 6 years that I've been here. Not because the citizens get mad at me, not because you guys stand up here and tell us to be accountable for what you guys want. I expect that. But I go home and I don't sleep because of the way we treat each other, and I'm not innocent either. And I've called and I've talked to the people, the citizens maybe that have stood up here, and we've had conversations. I am not immune to this either, but I am trying to hold us to this is not Washington politics. This is Caledonia, where I respect if you live on the west side or the east side, it doesn't matter. What I am asking for is not getting away from free speech, not telling Jan and John and Joe to stop saying what they're saying. What I'm saying is us. What we put our name to and what we say about one another should have a little bit higher of a code of ethics than what we've allowed this village to see.
I don't
Wait a
think.
minute, Prescott.
Prescott.
I do. I'm with Fran. I don't like trying to constrain free speech at all, but there's a real practical problem with what you're suggesting, which is it's impossible to write down on a piece of paper what a code of conduct is. And you also have to have a judge and jury when you don't like it, but the person that wrote it thinks it's within the code of conduct? Who's going to be the arbiter of whether something is okay or not okay? It just seems like, I get the theory, but practically speaking, I just don't see how it ends. I don't see how it gets implemented. And I will offer, I paid attention to everything on social media for the last few months. Yes, you've been called out on a couple of things by people in the community in response to things that people have said, but I haven't seen anything that should elicit a really strong negative reaction.
You missed it, and I filed complaints and had the stuff pulled down because it was wrong. And so that is what I am saying. I do this job because I want to, and because I appreciate the people in this community, and I step forward and I represent every single one of them. And I don't know what the answer is, and maybe Tim can offer some advice. Fran, I'm not looking to stop you from speaking on social media. What I want is appropriate communication that doesn't tarnish my reputation as a person, which is what's been happening.
But that is part and parcel of the deal that we end up with when we step into this kind of a position to a great extent. And before you go, last year, I had an entire negative campaign run by a PAC against me, and not everything that was in it was true. But that's got to be water off the back. I have people who say things about me at times. I can't focus on it. It's immaterial because, again, it starts from another place. There may be things that people don't like about what's said, but it's got to roll off our back.
It's the trustees that I trust, that I should be able to come to this when we go in a closed session, when we discuss sensitive topics. I should be able to trust that I respect you as much as you respect me. Whether or not we agree or even like each other should be irrelevant. But I believe that it's no different than what I do for my daily job. I am held to a higher standard because of the trust that is placed in me and what I do. And I hold myself to that. And so I don't know what the answer is, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I am not looking to stifle First Amendment rights. I am not looking to say that you can't have a social media. What I am trying to do is make it, maybe this is all that needed to happen, is for me to say, can you please think twice about what your name is getting attached to and what you're saying and what you're pulling off of social media for recordings and how you're snipping the comments that are being made.
So let me intervene. Mr. Pruitt or?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I've never had someone tell me I'm too quiet, so if there's an issue,
Well, you're
let me
doing
know.
good then.
As mentioned before, my name's Hannah Kohlberg. I'm with Von Briesen, and I work in the government law group, and I do a fair amount of representing municipalities across the state, including litigation on some First Amendment and other issues. Before this, I was a deputy city attorney in Wauwatosa, and before that, I was a district attorney in Milwaukee County for 10 years, so this is an area that I'm relatively familiar with. And I appreciate the concerns here, and I appreciate the references to some constitutional law and other cases that have come down in the Supreme Court the last couple of years. As maybe a framework for your discussion to help you, it might be helpful to reverse engineer this in the sense of what's the end goal for the village board. Because as you mentioned, it's a fact-intensive analysis about what one can and cannot do, about what kind of speech you're talking about and under what circumstances. And so if you think about what the end result is that you're looking for as a board, then I think we can have a meaningful conversation about to what degree can you do anything about it, or what does that look like? What does the consequences or resolution look like if someone violates that policy? But because it's so fact intensive, it might be helpful to think about what that end game is, and then a consensus on that would help dictate how the policy works. And then whether that social media policy or other policies, if you're contemplating them, are applicable to the elected officials, to staff, to all accounts, to no accounts. All of those questions are necessary in order to do a full analysis. So if that's helpful, or people have particular questions, I'm happy to kind of chime in, but that might steer the conversation if you have a set of things that you're ultimately looking for that we can kind of talk about what might or might not be possible.
I guess
Fran,
Well,
did you have?
yeah, I'm going to say, Holly, I understand your need to vent, and maybe that is all that you needed was to vent, because I go back to Prescott's comment, which is who's going to be the arbiter, who's going to be the judge and jury on this? Every time someone's offended, are we going to have a closed board meeting because we're going to say, you said this, no, I didn't, and you meant this, no, you didn't? It seems to me not workable. I think we have to have, I believe that I have always respected my fellow trustees. I'm not sure I've always been respected. I understand that someone was recruited to run against me, and I dealt with it, fine, that happens, that's fair game. But I don't expect to be babysat either. I really do think that the importance of free speech, and particularly in light of Lindgey v. Freed of this Supreme Court case, I think it's very clear that unless any of us are meeting those parameters, which we can't as trustees, I think only Tom can. I mean, you can correct me on that, but I think only Tom and Todd are the two who have the ability to officially speak for the village. So it's very clear, and I have said on my story, but once I found that case, I have tried to cite, not every single time, and I don't use my trustee name. I use my name with my maiden name and my last name so that it's clear that I'm not speaking as a trustee unless I'm in my campaign page. So
A couple of thoughts. You'll probably remember from that decision that part of the analysis, right, is really dependent on the subject matter of which you're speaking, right? So whether or not you as a village trustee.
once you pass that test.
Right. So,
But you can't pass the test.
but that's fact intensive, right? And so
Well,
you have
we
to
can't
pass
pass
that initial test. And secondarily, and kind of talking about that part a little bit more in depth, the consequence that if you were to have a policy and a violation of the policy results in a consequence, what due process is afforded the person in that situation that is, let's say, being accused, right, of a violation of the social media policy. And that there's a couple of different frameworks that you're talking about because you're talking about the scope of the problem. For example, if you're saying that if you're going to take a policy stance that the violation of this policy is a gross neglect of duty, that addresses the statutory considerations for the removal of a board member from the board of trustees, right? There are statutory protections and due process terms for how that's accomplished.
I understand that.
Yeah, so it's, when I was talking about reverse engineering it depends on the consequence, right? Because if you put in a policy for which there's no consequence, then what suppression of speech exists,
Well,
right?
I don't think there should, that's why I don't think there should be a policy.
I'm just,
That is, because
I'm
I
just
don't
trying to
think
range
there
out
is a
there.
reasonable consequence that we can have, other than shaking our fingers at one another. And if we're going to try to undo elections right after we had one with a resounding majority, I think that would, if you don't think that the public would be upset at that, well, then you're mistaken. I think that would be a terrible thing to do.
Tom?
Yes, Nancy?
So
Is that what you're suggesting?
I think no, I don't think so. I think if we come back to item 8A, the real question, and it's kind of following what Hannah is saying, is do the trustees want to create a code of conduct specifically for Caledonia, and do we want to create a social media policy?
For all employees, too.
Well,
the
maybe,
employees-
maybe not. I mean, there's two separate things. I mean, we've already got these allegations that would take us into closed session because, quote, we're talking about employees when you've not said anything that has anything to do with current
is.
knowledge of an employee of the village.
There is, we just haven't brought that part up because
Well-
closed session is appropriate. No, it is for employees that this is on there. I promise you, village employees. But I will make this, the reason that I brought this up after the election was because I'm not negating anything that happened. The election is the election. This has nothing to do with what happened.
Well, that's not
for
what
the
our attorney
election.
just said in terms of a consequence, Holly.
Oh,
No,
no,
I'm not, I just want to be clear that I'm bringing to you a complete third-party perspective. I can honestly tell you that I don't actually know the details of I'm talking generally speaking.
I'm not looking to have anybody kicked off the board I'm talking about going forward. I'm talking about a clean slate.
I'm trying.
Sorry.
No, I think you have an issue apparently with an employee. The rest of us do not. All of us have had things said about us on social media and other public media. I mean, that happens. But I agree, it comes with the job. So I'm coming back to 8A. Do we as a board want to move to the full board? This is committee as a whole. Do we want to move to the full board directing staff to create an ordinance for a code of conduct for this board?
I
Is
do
that
know.
is that what we're saying?
No.
Well, that's what's on the agenda. That's exactly what's on the agenda. And secondarily, do we want to direct staff and/or ourselves to move to the full board saying we're going to have some sort of a social media policy that will constrain how we talk? Those are the two things that are on the table right now.
I give up. I just, this is insane.
I'm sorry you felt
No,
disrespected
it's
in any
disrespect coming from
circumstance.
it's us. I don't care about what the people, it's not that I don't care. That came out wrong. I am not affected by what public thinks. What the keyboard warriors say about me from their keyboard, what I am concerned with is the way that we treat each other. That is what I am concerned with, whether that's on social media, whether that's in this boardroom, whether that's right here.
And I'll move back to the agenda items. Do not address that.
Holly, you and I'm harking back to a meeting, maybe like 2 or 3 meetings ago, and I can't remember what the topic was, but we were talking about people getting angry at one another. And you said, you and I disagree. We had just disagreed about, I don't even know what, something. And you said, we disagree, but we like each other. I like you. I think you like me. So I feel like that is the ambiance. Not that
it
we're
hasn't
some
been, though.
hostile group of people.
It hasn't been though.
Well,
And
the election maybe made things
that's
heightened.
not, but
But
that's
that's a heightened.
what I'm
it was
trying to
heightened for me
say.
too.
Is I wasn't even up for election.
No,
and
but I
I
Well,
was.
that's okay.
But I was
I wasn't either.
this
You know, I don't speak much, but this is, I mean, I can understand where she's coming from. I mean, I follow the golden rule. I mean, I always treat other people like I'd like to be treated. And, you know, and I understand what she's saying. I would never malign somebody behind their back. I would never go and throw people under the bus. You know, if you look at my social media, it's very plain. I don't attack people. Yeah, it's boring, yeah. You probably maybe see me with a beer or two, you know?
Well, I
So-
have run into you with a beer.
Yeah, and you have. And,
That is
you know, it's whatever happened to just following a golden rule and treating others like you'd like to be treated.
I think we can, but we
There
do
you
run
go.
into issues at different times. I mean, I've got issues that, you say you've got a staff issue, I could bring up a staff issue too, but we're not doing it, it's not on the agenda. I think we go back to the agenda item. We've listened, we've heard. Is anybody want to make a motion that we direct staff to develop a trustee code of conduct ordinance and/or a social media policy and bring it before the full board? So you want to do a roll call vote on that, Mr. President, please?
I need a second on that motion.
Well,
Oh, who'll second that?
I would second that with a motion, meaning that I want Elaine or our attorneys to come back with any similar things that maybe other communities are
Well,
doing.
that's what my motion basically
So that
would
staff
do.
meaning our attorneys, not Todd and,
Well, it has to go that
yes,
route.
but
So does anybody want to second that
I'll
motion?
tell you, I looked at the Franklin has some kind of a code gun It's so
Second.
constraining that
Second.
they
There's-
can't say a word as far as
Right,
I could
so-
tell.
no, and I don't,
So can you repeat that so we know now what we're going to vote on?
My motion is, does anyone on this committee as a whole want to direct staff to create a trustee code of conduct and social media policy to be brought before the full board?
Wait, that's not a motion.
she
That's
made
not
that
really a
motion, and I seconded it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, let's rephrase that so that it,
I
Not a
think you
motion.
need to have a motion,
Right.
one way or the other. Either someone wants to float the idea of having,
All right, then I'll change the motion. I make a motion to not bring up to the full board a trustee code of conduct or social media policy.
Second.
so just to be clear, if we vote yes, we're saying no. And if you vote no, you're saying yes to creating this policy for review, which is very confusing. I know, really. I'm going to get this one wrong, and then people are going to yell at me on social media.
Well, would you like to rephrase it, Mr. Balch?
Why don't you just invert it so that
I've
it's a
inverted it
yes means,
twice,
so
so
a
I'm
yes means a yes
confused.
means a yes and a no means a no. That would be more appropriate.
I'm going to defer to you to get the language correct, because I'm done it both ways and I'm not hitting it.
I think the person who is supportive of creating these policies should make the motion
Well, I will.
to see if everybody else wants to do it.
So
Okay.
I almost feel like could this be two separate things? Yes. Okay. So
Well, it's one item.
I know, but
Could be two different.
would the social media policy, if it's worded like that, be for employees village-wide? Or would that just be for us?
So that's the direction we're looking for from you. So it's
Okay.
very common for municipalities to have social media
And I
policies that
think-
apply to their staff.
Yes. Okay,
We have a social media policy.
okay.
Got that
So
one
you
off.
could make it specific to you, or you could address to you being the elected officials, or you could address the one that's already in existence.
So I don't necessarily want a social media policy for trustees. So I just would like our staff to look into drafting or ideas make a motion to direct our staff to look into a trustee code of conduct. I don't know
That's
what
fine.
would be.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine.
To look into an outline for trustee code of conduct. I don't think we should have a social media policy. I think the conduct just means our behavior in general toward one another is what and I'm talking about trustees.
So
So
you're
that's-
making, your motion is to direct staff to create such a code.
Code of conduct for trustees.
That's your motion?
That's our motion.
That's my motion.
Is there a second? Motion fails. We are adjourned.
Why aren't we going into the close? This
We
is
don't-
ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
We're adjourned.
Okay. You know,
A discussion on whether you want to create a code of conduct or social media policy.
There was no vote.
You've addressed on that. You've addressed that. The second part of this is whether or not you want to take a motion to go into closed session to talk about concerns related to the conduct of trustees and
Toward
and
employees.
social media
No.
statements.
We just did.
no, it's trustees toward employees. It's already existing conduct that has been brought forward.
So there's certain, and we talked about this before, that there are certain things we didn't want to talk about in open session because it related to
Employees.
employees. And if we're going to go in that direction, we're going to want to talk about that enclosed under either sub C, which relates to employment, or sub F, which relates to reputational concerns.
We need to go into closed session, Tom. That's why it's on the agenda.
Well, if we vote for it.
If we vote for it. Can you put the?
Are we done?
Oh, no, hold on one second.
This has nothing to do with me. The closed session has nothing to do with me.
Well,
you
it
able to
would
put it
have
back
to
up on
because
the
it has to
screen?
be personnel.
Thank you.
The only personnel we could go into closed session on is personnel, and we are not personnel.
Well, I mean, I know about it, but this does not involve me. Meaning, this was not brought forward because of a problem that I have.
Maybe someone make a
Well-
motion to
Yes,
go
I'll
in
make a
closed
motion to
session.
go
And then
into
we can
closed
say yes or
session.
no.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely
You
not.
can
No.
take a vote. Once the motion's made, if it's seconded, then you'll have a vote. If there's no second, then you're done.
Well, are you trying to take us into closed session?
Not what we just discussed about the code of conduct and social media is not what this is about in closed session. What this is about in closed session.
If it's about a
Nope.
personnel issue, we are not properly noticed to go into a personnel issue by the very things. And I'm sitting here with a complaint to the DA's office about why this is would be absolutely incorrect. So if we want to go that route, let's go.
This says specifically concerns related to trustees' codes of conduct and social media statements. We don't have a trustees' code of conduct. We just voted not to have one. So this can't possibly be properly noticed.
Yeah.
There is no such thing.
I agree, that's why I adjourned the meeting.
I
And
agree.
there's no specificity. There's all kinds of reasons this can't go into
I think we're
closed on
done.
personnel.
But
I
it's
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I already adjourned the meeting.
All right, well, just confirming.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
We're done.
I